made me do it. I was really stuck on that dame. I used to case that joint every night, bell the couple, and just listen to her warble. One night, I'm sitting there minding my own business when I catch her giving me the eye. I get goosebumps. A little bird told me that dame means trouble, but I can't help myself. I'm a goner.
And that's how most of them began, with some worn-out guy pouring his heart out as though the whole movie house audience was made up of sympathetic bartenders. You see, the flashback was this kind of film's trademark. Film noir. Noir meaning black in French, like blackness without light. Film noir. How do we recognize it? It's a style all its own, with a signature look. A look saturated with mood. Its stories unfold in a noir universe where nights are long, it rains too much, and the sun shows rarely. A universe wired with people's anxieties. No one is safe or trustworthy. A sense of evil underlies everything. Noir was a movement that deluged sun-bleached Hollywood like an oil slick. It made arty demands on the cinematographer, calling for textures of deep shadows and glaring light, stark contrasts, wrenching changes of perspective. This look was its label, film noir. A film noir hero was no hero at all in the usual sense. He might be naive. He usually found himself in over his head. Often, he'd be a crass, pulp fiction type detective.
I've never hired a detective before. What are the rates?
As much as the traffic will bear.
When can you start?
I've already started.
But he might be a hapless accountant.
Get your hands up. Drop that picture on the couch. Turn around.
Or an insurance man with an attitude.
I was thinking about that dame upstairs and the way she had looked at me. And I wanted to see her again, close, without that silly staircase between us. How could I have known that murder can sometimes smell like honeysuckle?
For all his tough talk,
Go ahead, scream. Get the cops in here. That's all we need.
he was sometimes hopelessly vulnerable.
That something is wrong, that you're in serious trouble. You frighten me, Frank.
Oh, don't be frightened, Paul.
He seemed always to get involved with the wrong women. Beautiful women were his Achilles heel. But women saw him less like Achilles and more like a heel.
Somebody told him a lot of things about her and me.
Were they true?
Women manipulated him, like Eve leading Adam.
It's out, Vera. I won't have anything to do with it.
I think you will.
On the run. So often is the noir hero on the run, fleeing his fears, seeking any advantage that will help him through the long, desperate night, bristling with distrust in a world where no one trusts anyone. He is overwhelmed by forces beyond his control, beyond his understanding. As an actor, the noir hero is subject to murky plots and bizarre story twists.
Who was murdered?
I was. I don't think I've ever had a patient who fell in love with a corpse.
Several successful film stars turned off the sunshine to portray an anti-hero in the dark world of film noir, where there are no happy endings. Dick Powell was one of them. Powell had been a boyish heartthrob with a musical comedy tenor. He sang, he danced, and he always got the girl. In film noir, that pleasant voice of his was edged with cynicism. That boy became a man, albeit a hounded one. But Dick Powell wasn't the only name actor who lent his talents to film noir. Humphrey Bogart.
You'll have nothing to say about it. I'm running things from now on.
Robert Mitchum.
Who'd want to murder her?
You've been asking for it lately. Hey!
Burt Lancaster.
Any objections?
Yeah.
Robert Ryan.
So big you can call me up to this dump and shoot off your mouth.
You're too smooth, honey. You're much too smooth.
Dan Duryea.
Where's the dough?
And Orson Welles.
What are you trying to do?
We're trying to strap you in the electric chair, Boyd.
All were trapped in the film noir universe, faulted by duped heroes and defective dames. A make-believe universe reflecting the fears and dreads of the real world. The real world gone wrong. Throughout the grim years of World War II, movies were geared for the home front. For the Gold Star mothers and dads who'd lost their sons. For war brides with babies who'd never seen their fathers. The shipyard workers and Rosie the Riveter. The Hollywood assembly line turned out flag wavers, films ending always on a note of hope and optimism. Then along with a hard-won victory came the first atomic bomb. No sooner had the demonic dictators been defeated than the threat of total destruction burst upon a war-weary humanity. So Hollywood targeted the somewhat disillusioned and distrustful men returning home from the war. Men who lived in foxholes, men who'd seen their buddies killed in combat, men who'd received Dear John letters from faithless wives and sweethearts whose snapshots they carried next to their hearts into battle. These men were hungry for movies, but not for movies about Little Mary's Sunshine. Hollywood fed the post-war malaise with cinematic cynicism. Though most noir screenwriters weren't Nobel Prize winners, producers drew on works by novelist Ernest Hemingway.
Reach for that and I'll kick your brains out.
Playwright Maxwell Anderson.
Nothing to stop me from wiping you all out.
What could lad do, boss? Forget it. Her kind's a dime a dozen.
I say smack her and let it go at that.
Smacking her isn't enough for such an insult. He'd have to kill her.
Fiction writers with a following: Dashiell Hammett, Raymond Chandler, and James M. Cain.
There's one thing we could do that would fix everything for us.
What? Pray for something to happen to Nick?
Something like that.
Car.
As well as paperback's tough guy, Mickey Spillane.
Who are you?
My name is Mike Hammer.
For its distinctive look and feel, film noir owes much to Orson Welles. In Citizen Kane, he soaked the silver screen with moves and moods, shadows and highlights never before seen in cinema. He both directed and acted in noir masterpieces. The Lady from Shanghai.
Your husband can take care of himself.
You ought to speak when you're spoken to. I'd hate to have to report you to the lady's husband. I said it's a nice night for it.
A touch of evil.
Oh, God, now. I'm a husband. What did you do with her? Where is my wife? My wife!
And The Stranger.
I've been around for quite a spell. Running scared most of it. Getting duped by crooks and taken for a sucker by dames. But I got my jollies too. Like the music. Jazz, I mean. Big-time cats who really wail. Like they say, there comes a time when you gotta call it quits. There comes a time.
True to form, film noir did not have a happy ending. It had run its course. Human-scale films were shelved by blockbusters. Heroics were in again. After all, who could be hard-boiled in CinemaScope? There were earnest attempts to revive the noir genre. Decades after Double Indemnity was released, a noir classic, Hollywood sweat out a remake titled Body Heat, in pulsating color. It managed the murder, but lost the mood. These weren't people adrift in an era of war and its aftermath. These people were oversexed connivers in the age of Aquarius. Tension was replaced by titillation. Those poor denizens of the noir universe thought they were wallowing in wickedness. Yet in classic film noir, there's rarely mention of speed or heroin, crack or cocaine. AIDS was unknown, and America didn't have a weight problem. But they certainly did smoke. One can almost look back nostalgically on that old noir world.